Welcome back to Fantasy Football RPG, your go-to source for all things fantasy football. Join us for expert analysis, top strategies, and the latest insights to help you dominate your league. Let's level up your game and dive into the nitty-gritty. Without further ado, let's get into the action.
Welcome to Fantasy Football RPG, episode 107. We are in the middle of spooky season, beyond fired up for the spirit of Halloween to be our guest tonight. Evan, what are you excited about for Halloween?
Ooh, for Halloween, all the discount leftover candy that gets just discounted to like 70% at the store.
Yeah,
My favorite part.
What's your go-to candy?
Oh, Reese's Peanut Butter Cup, without question.
I love you. That's the reason this podcast works so well. We're going to get into some spooky stats today that, maybe Dynasty and Fantasy Football managers should know about them. Maybe it's a trend that we should look into, or maybe it's unsustainable and we should be worried about it. But first, I want to talk about what is going on in North Carolina right now. Olivia's whole family is from the Asheville area, so I included a link down in the description. If you're listening to this, first of all, we love you. Second of all, if you can spare a couple of dollars, hop down there. Every little bit counts. Works on desktop, not mobile, just a note. But yeah, Evan, anything to say about the hurricane?
Yeah, being a civil engineer, I definitely know a lot about landslides and the havoc that they can cause. Having worked in California, I've worked with many municipalities to repair all the damage that occurs from landslides. So the devastation, it's most likely going to take years to be able to dig themselves out and be able to get all the infrastructure back to where it should be.
Yeah. So if you can afford anything, every little bit counts. But we're here to talk about football, not about sad things all night. So let's get into some news.
And now it's time for news and notes.
All right. Evan's excited because that's the first time he's ever seen that. Live reaction. Thoughts?
It's pretty sick. Good job, Mike. I give you 2 thumbs up.
Man, I've been in the Canvas streets recently. So Devontae Adams has requested a trade. All offseason, he was linked saying like, oh, he's going to get traded. Oh, he's going to get traded. And every single time he said, no, I'm not. I'd rather be here. It took exactly 3 weeks of football and then a injury. We can decide whether or not he's actually injured. And then he just decided that he wants out. So, Evan, what are some best fits for him from a real football perspective and best fits for a fantasy football perspective?
I mean, real football perspective, you start wondering how some of these teams will be able to fit him into the cap. I was looking at that earlier because I know people would love to see him, go over to the Bills, would love to see him go to the Ravens, would love to see him go to the Chiefs. But all of those teams that we just mentioned have less than $5 million in cap space. So gotta get creative if they're going to add him. The team that would not be good for my Philadelphia Eagles for him to go to would be the Commanders. I think it would be a really fun pairing. Yes, it'll eat into McCoy and Terry and what he did and that offense and how it operates right now. It's humming. So do you interrupt that?
I don't think that adding weapons to your rookie quarterback and letting him see what different receivers can do is ever a bad thing. Look, Commanders, great story. I love it. They've also played 3 of the worst passing defenses in the league. So Olamide Zaccheaus isn't going to get the job done all season. If they think they can push, you have a rookie quarterback with a rookie contract. You have a clear, he's your number 1 now, but if he's your number 2, think about how heartbreaking that would be for defensive coordinators. You'd be just shoving guys into the walls of Jericho there. Just they have no idea what to do. And I think it makes a lot of sense real football-wise. Fantasy-wise, hard to project Adams for a ton of volume, hard to project McLaurin for any volume, hard to get excited about the Zach Ertz garbage targets. Ben Sinnott is dead for the foreseeable future. It wouldn't be great there. I do want to address the elephant in the room. Most betting sites have him linked as the number 1 option for the New York Jets. What would that do to Devontae Adams, and what would that do to Garrett Wilson?
I mean, it'd do a lot more for Aaron Rodgers than his cooked noodle arm right now. So, yeah, I mean, get somebody who he is completely comfortable with to be back in that offense. Garrett Wilson, he needs a running mate. Like, you watch those games, and it's just rolling coverage. It's over-under boxes. Like, you're looking at him just getting absolutely bracketed all the time, and it's incredibly frustrating because Rodgers still tries to fit the ball in there because he knows that he is, without question, the best receiving weapon that he has to be able to throw it to.
Yeah. I think it would be great for Aaron Rodgers for fantasy for a little bit, but Garrett Wilson would be sad. Let's move on down the list. We can't just talk about Adams all night. Couple of injuries making us sad. Christian Watson, a high ankle sprain. I mean, dude can't stay on the field. Jaden Reed looks like the real number one. Dontavian Wicks has the skill set to be a real X receiver. I think Watson might have, had his last fantasy relevance. Thoughts?
Ooh, last fantasy relevance. I don't think it's his last fantasy relevance. How he's utilized is the deep threat in that offense. Typically, you see him, you look at his ADOT, and it's a lot higher historically than most of the other receivers. You look at his speed and how he can use it when he's on the field. So no, I don't think it's the end of fantasy relevance. I think there's also going to be another team that's going to look at him, see the draft capital that originally was invested in him, see what he has done when he has been on the field, and I think he'll at least get another shot somewhere.
I think he's going to get a big case of hopium whenever he signs to a new team.
Sure.
And I'm kind of done with it. I'm over. Hi, Pete. Thanks for tuning in. Head over to YouTube. What are you doing on X? Come on. Anthony Richardson, hip pointer, saw the injury. Immediately after the injury, they had him run a read option. Please stop calling those RPOs. There was no pass option. It's a read option. I mean, probably going to miss a week or two at worst.
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if he plays this week.
Yeah, I mean, big dude, tough guy. I'm not worried about it. It's not the kind of injury that's going to linger for a while. He might stay in the pocket a little bit more this week. So bad for fantasy, good for season-long output.
Does the hip pointer injury substantiate people on X that keep saying, oh, he's injury prone. Oh, he always gets injured every single week. How do you feel about that narrative, Mike?
All right. I soapbox real quick. The amount of people that I saw being like, oh, he needs to slide more. He needs to slide more. Watch the play that he got hurt originally on. He was running down the field. He got caught from behind. You don't slide when there's a defender behind you unless you have eyes in the back of your head. And as the defender behind him caught him, stripped him, turned him around, that's when he got opened up to the hit. You can't protect yourself there. Yes, he could have gone down way earlier, but that's not the player that Richardson is. I do think his play style is going to lead to more little ouchies that, pop up every now and then. But this is not a full-blown, always injury prone, I'm over this, like Christian Watson. Jonathan Taylor, famously not injury prone, hadn't missed a practice or, really anything all of high school, all of college, all of his first season, all of his second season. Then he has a high ankle sprain. Then he suffers a high ankle sprain on the same ankle in the game against the Steelers. What do you feel about a couple of weeks, month?
He says it's
how long
mild.
Are we gonna be? Yeah,
I mean,
the mildest ankle sprain.
Yeah, like the mildest high ankle sprain you've ever seen. I'm gonna say game time decision this week.
Okay, I think they hold him out anyway, but they're gonna play with our feelings. We have a great question from Mr. Terranova in the chat. Richardson or Fields the rest of the season for fantasy? I'll let you go first.
No, it's Richardson. I know, Mike, you want it to be Fields, but it's Richardson. What have we seen in that Steelers offensive line? We've seen multiple offensive linemen go down. That's an issue.
Achilles tear.
He still only has George Pickens on the outside, which is an issue. Freiermuth is kind of doing things, so that's kind of nice over the middle. Pretty much every running back on that depth chart has some kind of injury right now, is banged up. That is all things that do not lead me to believe that what he's doing is sustainable right now. And Richardson, the upside. Josh Downs just came back. Josh Downs received a ton of targets this past week, target share specifically. Really love seeing that. He has weapons around him. He has a good, potentially great offensive line in front of him. Give me Richardson the rest of the season. Relatively easily, too.
So all of those things have been true for the past month already. And who is currently scoring more points?
Okay. Justin Fields has been scoring more points.
By a lot.
I hear, look, Mike, I hear you. But what's going to happen as we get to crunch time? Steelers have one of the hardest playoff schedule. They have one of the harder schedules down the stretch. It starts getting a little bit colder up there in the Northeast. And maybe he just ends up running the ball a ton and he puts up those 150-yard Justin Fields type games for 2 rushing touchdowns with like 10 pass attempts. It's possible.
Yeah, that you just said a lot of very good things about Justin Fields for fantasy. I'm confused what you're worried about.
Richardson's bigger, faster, stronger, throws the ball further, throws the ball to playmakers that are better. He has a better play caller in Shane Steichen.
Were all of those things true the last month?
Yes.
We're going to talk about this all night, but we have one more question. What would you value Josh Downs as in a dynasty league?
Oof.
Raw picks, let's say. Would you send a random 2025 2 for Josh Downs?
I don't have an evaluation on Downs right now. I need to see another week in the offense because I need to see how he's utilized with Pierce as he's been playing, along with A.D. Mitchell, and how he's been playing, how Pittman ends up integrating. Because Flacco coming into the game does kind of throw off the evaluation because he just runs a completely different style offense than Richardson does.
Yep.
So, yeah, give me another week and we'll come back to that.
Sounds good. We're going to get into 2 more injuries. So Rashee Rice, I have ACL ? Written here. They said on the field, passed the test that it is an ACL tear that has 95 to like 98% accuracy, depending on what source you use. And then they did a couple of MRIs and they don't know, which is probably a good sign, if I'm being honest. Like if they knew already, it'd be like ACL tear out for a year, plus he's getting suspended. Now we need to talk about all sorts of things. Now, like maybe he comes back in a couple months. I'm still worried. We'll see how the rest of it plays out. We should have news by the end of the week. Let's not get into dynasty values with him because then we'll talk all night. Let's talk about Taysom Hill, tight end 1 on the season. Thank you very much. Actually, no, he's not the tight end 1 anymore. He's the tight end 3 in points per game. Tough. Out with an abdomen injury. He's 34 years old. So I'm not worried about it. They're still going to give him 19 snaps and 14 fantasy points whenever he does play. Thoughts on Taysom Hill?
No, if he's listed as a tight end, he gets you points as a tight end, especially if you just completely waited on the wasteland that is tight end this season.
Yep. All righty. Now let's get into the fun part of the show. We're going to talk about some weird stats, some takeaways, some things like that. Instead of doing just a little recap from the other games, you guys, if you're listening to the show, you already know what happened on Sunday. You're educated. You know the deal. McDaniel and the Dolphins, sad. Jaguars and Peterson, sad. So let's just talk about some weird stats that you need to know. Evan, you wrote down this first one. You want to talk about it?
Yeah. So the first one I want to jump to the second one here. Deontay and Wan'Dale Robinson. All right. So they're currently 3rd and 4th in targets. And then Cortland Sutton is 6th.
Yep.
Who had that on their bingo card?
Oh, I did.
Oh, okay, Mike. All right.
No, actually.
Wan'Dale Robinson stepping up and having, 4th most targets in the NFL after 4 weeks.
I was like maybe 20th. But
like if we want to talk about target consolidation, this offense is target consolidation king.
Yep.
Going to Wan'Dale and going to Neighbors. Yes, I get it. They've been behind in a lot of games. They've been competitive in, well, a couple quarters. So there are more passes, passing volume. I want to say Daniel Jones is like 5th in passing volume, somewhere around there. So yeah, there are targets going around, but when you see that kind of consolidation and you see somebody valued as Wandale is valued, do you want to go get Wandale? Have you seen enough, Mike?
Yes, I have. Listen, PPR leagues, he's a PPR scam. He's the classic 9 catches, 30 yards, maybe gets you a touchdown.
He's what Wes Welker used to be.
It's disgusting. It's despicable. But, I mean, it'll be 3rd and 30, and Daniel Jones will throw a 6-yard slant to Wandale. It's like, sweet, 1.6 fantasy points. Easy. So was trying to acquire and still trying to acquire. I think as people start to realize where these targets are at, it's going to go up more. I want to ask you about Courtland Sutton. So he's 6th in targets, but let me hop on over to his PPR output so far. Sorry, I was scrolling, but it was taking too long. Wide receiver 44 in PPR. Is the quality of these targets going to get better, or is Bo Nix just throwing to the only option and Sutton's not good enough to, do anything with it?
Bo Nix is going to keep throwing to Courtland Sutton because he is the only option. Look, people want to get excited about Franklin. People want to get excited about Mims.
Yep.
People even tried to have some hope for Dulcich. They were injecting hope where hope did not belong. This offense is a disaster zone, and Courtland Sutton is about the only useful piece in this entire offense.
Yeah. He's going to keep getting targets. In PPR leagues, he's going to be a flex option. But, dude, the ceiling isn't there unless Bo Nix gets drastically better. Yes, this last week they were playing good defense in the rain. He didn't look good the first 3 weeks either. So, exciting that he's getting those targets. Sad that it's going the way that it is. All right. Now, would you like to talk about Malik Neighbors? Dynasty wide receiver 1.
Malik Neighbors.
Dynasty wide receiver 1.
Hey,
not actually.
How many dynasty analysts had Malik actually over Marvin Harrison Jr.?
Maybe like 10%.
Handful? Yeah, handful.
You were one of them.
Good.
Proud of you.
I also flip-flopped, so I'll be fully transparent on that. Yeah, there was a lot of flip-flopping going on, but I said that they were the 2 wide receivers that were clearly in a tier of their own, and they clearly are in a tier of their own.
The first 2 are.
That's what I'm saying.
I thought you said
Marvin
the top
Neighbors.
3.
No, Marvin Neighbors. Yeah, so, Mike, he's leading the league in targets.
Oh, is that among rookies?
Nope, that's amongst all wide receivers.
Oh, okay.
All right, we got a disgusting target share going on over there. With that being said, let's play a little over-under here. 160 targets on the season.
What's he at now?
He is... Oh, man, you had me switching pages here. He's at 52. 52 in 4 games.
All right. Well, let me extrapolate that out. That would be about 215 targets. So I'll take the over on 160.
All right. It's crazy. Like, if we're genuinely talking about a guy that's going to get over 160 targets, like,
it's bananas.
He very well could be and end up as the wide receiver 1 this year, which for a rookie would be absolutely insane. And if that happens, I bet you see a bunch of dynasty gamers that vault him straight up to 1 overall in their rankings.
May I ask, you mean 1 overall across all positions or across wide
1
receivers?
overall in single quarterback. Yeah.
May I ask why you would not?
why you would not, because proven track record hasn't been there, and typically typically fantasy gamers in general like to see some kind of proven track record if you're going to go 1 overall.
So Jefferson, after his record-breaking rookie season, went to 1 overall. Chase, after having a very, very good rookie season, flirted with 1 overall. Neighbors is the actual wide receiver 1 in scoring, one of the youngest wide receivers in the league. If he is the wide receiver 1 on the season or finishes ahead of Justin Jefferson, I will put him ahead of him, and I won't think twice.
Okay.
I don't think he sustains it because Daniel Jones' cheeks. But anyway,
eventually they're going to just roll coverage, and it's just going to get double team city.
And then Wan'Dale's going to get 30 targets. It'll be great. We have a great question from the chat. Who is your wide receiver 1 in Vegas if Devontae gets traded? My wide receiver 1 is Brock Bowers, the tight end. My wide receiver 2 is Jacoby Myers. My wide receiver 3 is Trey Tucker.
Yeah, it's got to be Tucker as the 3. Tucker would be the one that would benefit the most from Adams getting traded.
Yep. I think Myers is a fine, like he would also be a PPR scam kind of guy, like just gets 12 targets for maybe 4 catches and 40 yards. But he would be very useful. Yes, the Broncos stink. Pete, I love you. Let's talk about. So listen, coming into the draft, we were all over. We were like, man, Neighbors Marv, tier of their own. Adunze, pretty solid. Maybe there's a couple of guys that flirt with that. And who was the name that I kept bringing up that I was really excited about that nobody was excited enough about? Dad's for Lad, baby.
Oh my gosh.
Listen, yards per route run. Who's higher, Lad McConkey or Marvin Harrison?
Probably Lad.
Fantasy points per route run. Who's higher?
Probably Lad, because he doesn't run as many routes.
Targets per route run. Who's higher?
Stop.
Yards per team pass attempt. Who's higher?
Just give up the bit, Mike.
Listen, if the volume ever increases in Los Angeles, which it has to, we have Justin Herbert throwing coolers on the sideline. Lad McConkey is going to be a very startable wide receiver that you got maybe in your like 111 to 202 range in your dynasty drafts, which I love. I just wanted to shout out Lad McConkey on an efficiency standpoint is crushing it. And if the person that owns him right now doesn't know that, go offer, a second and an underperforming wide receiver and be like, hey, let me grab that young guy and just see if you can get a deal done there. We have a start sit question. Wan'Dale Robinson, Tank Dell, Bucky Irving, or Ramondre Stevenson. If it is PPR, I'm going to take the PPR scam. I'm going to start Wan'Dale Robinson, especially because there's, Neighbors had a little bit of stuff going on there. Maybe he's going to play, maybe he's not after the concussion. So I would go with Wan'Dale. Who do the Patriots play? Because that would be my only. Do you know?
No, that's what I was literally doing the exact same thing, trying to figure that out.
All right. Let me look it up real quick. So Pat's schedule. Aaron saying, stop, Mike. I feel your pain. Yes, Aaron, because we have fun around
the Dolphins.
They play the dude.
Yeah.
Okay, maybe it's Ramondre.
Yeah, it might be Ramondre.
Yeah. Aaron, hop on over to YouTube. Hang out with the boys.
I think Ramondre still gets PPR. He still gets passing down usage. So I definitely think I would narrow that down personally to Wan'Dale or Ramondre. I don't feel good about Tank at this point in the season. Bucky is seeing a uptrend and an uptick in usage. I want to see it. I want to see it be sustainable.
Yep. I worry that Bucky, which is hilarious. We're talking about a satellite back that they use him for designed rushes. Like, throw the guy a check down every once in a while. Give him some targets. I'm tired of seeing Rachaad White on my screen. But all right, let's move on down. Tight ends. There are currently, fun fact, in one of our weird stats, there's only 6 tight ends over 10 points per game. You feel it if you own a tight end in fantasy right now. It feels terrible. But in 2023, there were only 7 at this stage of the season. And by the end of the year, there were 10 that got to 10 points per game in PPR. So, Evan, I'm going to throw this over to you. Is there room for hope Like, are there some spike weeks and some improvements coming? Or is this the worst year of tight ends after we said it was a deep year for tight ends?
Man, all the tight ends that we've expected to do well really haven't. Been big disappointments. Obviously,
Yep.
Bowers has popped off. Ferg, when he's been healthy. McBride's been injured. Like, Ferg's been injured. Dallas Goedert is getting a crazy target share right now because he's the only receiving threat that's healthy on the Eagles that can do anything. Because the Eagles wide receiver 3, wide receiver 4, wide receiver 5 all probably shouldn't be on a roster.
Whoa. I will not take Johnny Wilson slander. He is an elite sacrificial X.
All right, I'll let you keep believing that. Hunter Henry, though, metrics wise, how do you feel about Hunter Henry?
I mean,
as a cheap option.
As a cheap option, I like him. I was taking him a lot in best ball. Like, wide receiver room's wide open. There's going to be opportunities there. I do think that Polk starts to take a step forward, and when they finally let Javon Baker take some snaps, his target share is going to go down. Right now, 20% target share, number 5 across tight ends. 25% target rate, number 9 across tight ends. High enough snap share that it's not just out of nowhere. Yep. Taking 55 snaps in the slot. This is all from Player Profiler. Go check out their work. Like, there's a lot to like here. And
27% of the team's air yards, intended air yards.
To be fair, they did throw for 120 yards one week, so like that could help. But
do you think that Drake May will target him more than Jacoby Brissett would target him?
No.
Ooh.
I think that Drake May, what we've seen on tape from Drake May is that he has the ability to move around in the pocket, and he's a big game hunter. He's going to search for that deep target, or he's going to take the immediate check down. That like intermediate range that Hunter Henry likes to work in is something that he kind of just ignores. So it seems like you feel differently. What makes you think that is it just the classic rookie quarterback tight end blanket?
Yeah, I think it's going to be schemed that way.
I can see this.
I think you don't trust the wide receivers on the outside, and when you don't trust the wide receivers on the outside to be able to get a quarterback in rhythm, what do? You run little stick plays, you run quick outs, you run little drag routes with your tight end that's bigger than anybody else that's going to be trying to tackle him in space.
Yep. We have a couple of questions in the chat. Back to Mr. Terranova. DK Metcalf, top 15 wide receiver rest of the year. Indubitably yes to me. Like, Geno Smith is balling out. There's no reason to think that it's unsustainable because we've seen Geno ball out before. And this is finally the year. We've been saying it since like 2019. Tyler Lockett's going to take a step back. He finally did it. So Metcalf owns the room. JSN's their short and intermediate range guy. There were a couple of times that I wish JSN would have made somebody miss after the catch, but apparently he's incapable of that. But what do you think?
I think 159 pass attempts through 4 games is unsustainable for Geno. And that would be, that's basically Sam Howell level of pass attempts from last season when we had him just out there chucking the ball.
It's 3 more than Sam Howell last year.
Okay, there you go.
Right. Okay. Yeah. I stand corrected. It's unsustainable.
We saw exactly what happened. So yeah, especially with Geno not historically being the quarterback that's going to throw that many times. It's got to be 100% on pace for the most targets by like a chunk. Correct me if I'm wrong here, Mike. 572 in 2022. But still, he would be eclipsing 600 pass attempts at this point. So DK is exactly what I thought he has been to me. He's a guy that is going to have games that he's going to get a ton of targets. He's going to have games that he gets minimal targets, but he's also a freak athlete. So he can take any ball to the house, which means you still want to start him every single week.
Yep.
I'll go top 15 though. I'll say he'll be top 15.
I think the bar is low enough. I don't think he sustains. What is he, the wide receiver, like 6 right now or 7? It's a little too high. But
yeah, being a top 10 wide receiver right now for DK, he's doing it on 14 targets, 12 targets, and then a 6 target, 4 reception game in which he had 104 yards and a touchdown.
That's DK Metcalf in a nutshell. But all right, let's get to another fun stat, and then we're going to answer Jerry's question in the chat. So the New Orleans Saints are currently on pace to score the most points, more points than any other offense since the 2019 Baltimore Ravens. So I would like to ask you, one, is this sustainable? I think the answer is no. But two, is Rashid Shaheed emerging as a true fantasy viable wide receiver that it's not just a best ball target? Like you can plug him in and play him.
Oh yeah, no, I'm 100% buying in on Rashid Shaheed.
Yeah.
I am buying in, especially if there's any kind of bonus for return yards or anything of that nature, because he can go back there, he can get those yards. But yeah, he is the clear 2. I don't think there's anybody that holds his jockstrap at this point. And no, Mike, do you disagree?
May I offer? It's not that he's the clear 2. I'm going to read you some stats. Routes run: Chris Olave 97, Rashid Shaheed 95. Targets: Rashid Shaheed 25, so more targets per route run. Chris Olave 24. Air yards: Rashid Shaheed 363, Chris Olave 242. PPR points: Chris Olave 52.3, Rashid Shaheed 52.9. I think we overvalued Olave and we undervalued Rashid Shaheed.
Have the CB1 for another team on you all the time and go up against the second corner and just swap those roles and just see how it would change.
I don't know. I'm just saying. But okay, so we agree Rashid Shaheed viable. Like
he's here.
You plug and play. You probably draft him as your like wide receiver 6. Throw him in as your wide receiver 3, and you're cooking.
Yeah, I was ecstatic to be able to have a Sam Darnold trade, moving Darnold in a super flex league to be able to get Shaheed and a third.
Very nice.
I loved it.
Nice.
I was very happy about that because I was very dead at wide receiver, and I had Darnold just kind of sitting there. What do I do with him? Will he have any value after the season? Probably not. So
I love it. All right. So Jerry wants to know, would you send Dontavian Wicks and Jerry Jeudy for Aaron Rodgers in a dynasty superflex league? He only has 2 quarterbacks. Off the dome, I would not, because I think Rodgers is a 1-year Band-Aid, maybe a 2-year Band-Aid at best. Dontavian Wicks, you want to wait and see if this breakout is real. Like his route run, like per route run metrics have been exceptional. He just hasn't got a lot of routes. Now Watson's hurt. He's going to get the chance. He moves, like watching him on tape, he moves like a real superstar wide receiver. It's not going to be, a top 12 wide receiver, but he's tied to Jordan Love for the foreseeable future. I'm on board. Jerry Jeudy, whatever. But
look, there haven't been many bright spots for the Browns, unfortunately, this season.
Then Jerry Jeudy, though.
Jerry Jeudy has been a bright spot for the Browns. He's not letting the ball like Amari Cooper just go right through his hands and hit off his chest for an interception,
Dude, that gave me Kadarius Toney vibes.
Or let's see, what else? Magically have a holding flag thrown when Cooper just could have had his week in fantasy.
One play.
In one play. Yeah.
David Njoku dealing with injury. So I would hold the 2 young wide receivers with paths to relevance long term. Maybe if you're going to send those guys away, see if you can get a better quarterback, or like Aaron Rodgers should be cheaper. If the guy's selling him, like a late 2 should get the deal done, I'd be okay with that.
And also, let's remember, you have 2 quarterbacks. So you already have 2 quarterbacks to be able to start. And with it being Superflex, you don't have to start a quarterback in the Superflex spot. It's great if you can. But if that means sacrificing the depth at wide receiver to be able to start Aaron Rodgers on the bye weeks for those quarterbacks, it's just not worth it to me.
Bite the bullet for 2 weeks. See if you can pull it off without him. I'm starting Deebo Samuel in a super flex spot this week because I just don't have another quarterback. And the roster is loaded everywhere else, and I don't feel like buying one because people are hoarding them. Another follow-up question about the Saints offense. So listen, this is the best offense ever. Everything's awesome. This is sweet. It's the best thing since COVID is hit. Is Kamara ageless, or is this a classic old vet running back gaining value in season? And the moment week 18 is played, we're like, oh yeah, he stinks. Get him off your roster.
No, this is 100% a Alvin Kamara is ageless. This offense works very well for him. It does exactly what he needs the offense to do for him. He's having an incredible season. And if he just so happens to be on a rebuilder, what is the likelihood that you can get a first from a playoff team come the trade deadline? If he keeps this up, Mike, I'd say it's pretty dang high.
I would recommend that to anybody.
You would not have thought that before the season. I would not recommend going to get an old running back.
There's going to be some dude in your league that's like, oh, I'm pushing all the chips in. Let me go get the last stone on my infinity gauntlet. But like,
yep,
dude, there's so many good running backs in this class. The quarterbacks are moving up the board. Like Cam Ward's emerging, Jalen Monroe's emerging, Quinn Ewers looks like he's fixed a lot of his problems. There's quarterbacks, 2 stud wide receivers, maybe 3, depending on if Travis Hunter wants to play both ways. Like, please do not sell your playoff first. But I do think if he keeps playing this way, you can do it. Like, somebody's going to offer you a first.
Yeah, I mean, if it comes deadline time and you're trying to move him, look, I would even make an argument. If I'm a playoff team, I would consider moving Alvin Kamara. If somebody wants to give me their playoff first, because now I can package up 2 playoff firsts to go get a running back that will actually be there for a while.
Yeah. No, I love both of those ideas. I think it's funny that you say he's ageless, but then also say you wouldn't trade a playoff first for him. How long is he going to keep this up?
He's ageless right now. You know, Father Time has this crazy thing, Mike, where all of a sudden he's just like that ex-girlfriend that just sneaks up behind you and pops their head up. And you're just like, and you're just like absolutely terrified because you have no clue what just happened. Yep, that's Father Time. All of a sudden, he just strikes.
Alvin Kamara is the Derrick Henry of James White's. But all right, let's move on down to I have another fun fact that this should be interesting, and I think it could lead to some interesting redraft and dynasty conversations. I looked up bad throw percentage, which Pro Football Reference goes through. They chart and figure out catchable pass, not catchable pass, and then they omit any like spikes, throwaways, things like that. Top 2, Caleb Williams, 25%. Anthony Richardson, only other one over 20%. Should we be concerned about their valuation as a top 12 dynasty quarterback? And this is according to our friends at Fantasy Calc.
Yes. Because look what happened to Justin Fields. Look, I am not saying that Anthony Richardson is Justin Fields, who I said he is better than.
Pittsburgh's long-term starter, Justin Fields. Yes.
Anthony Richardson throws a much better deep ball than Justin Fields.
Not according to throw percentage.
Oh my gosh. You're killing me, Mike. But we see what happens to fantasy gamers when you have a rushing quarterback that holds the ball for longer than he probably should, tries to make hero plays, chucks it downfield, and also has a relatively low completion percentage, low ability to make good throws with setting his feet and being able to actually drive through the ball, be able to take a little bit of velocity and zip off the ball as well. That's another thing that you're really looking at Richardson. You're like, man, drop it in a bucket. Just take a little bit off, help your receivers to, be able to grip a beer can at the end of the day without just crying tears of pain.
It's tough. I had a fun fact for the first 3 weeks. I don't know if it's still true after week 4. Anthony Richardson had a higher completion percentage on passes over 20 yards than under 5.
That does not surprise me at all.
It doesn't. That's not real football. That shouldn't happen that way, but it's what Anthony Richardson does.
He's the vertical offense king. Come on.
Yeah. Caleb Williams, arm talent. Sometimes it looks like it's there. Like he is zipping it. He's getting through things. Other times, like, is the pressure just getting it to him too much? Is the offense? We have just an atrocious data set from their offensive coordinator right now after what he did in Seattle. Like, is the offense just not creative enough? What is the problem with Caleb Williams right now?
Offense isn't creative enough. The offensive line forgets how to block for run plays. So when that happens, what's the defense going to do? Oh, they're going to sit back in coverage. It's almost like that's how you play Colorado right now in college football. You just rush 3 and put everybody else back in coverage and say, hey, Shador, try and find a spot to fit this ball in. Well, Caleb's trying to find spots to put these balls in. And he just doesn't feel comfortable trying to thread it in the needle. It doesn't look like he seems comfortable trying to thread it in the needle at this point, and he doesn't look like he's comfortable trying to play hero ball right now.
Yeah. I still, like, you can see the flashes. There's every once in a while that he makes a pass, and you're like, oh my God. There's only
this is it.
There's like 5 people that can do that, and he's one of them. And there's other times that it's like, dog, there's like 200 people that can do that. Why are you not one of them? So I'm a touch concerned. I'm just going to read a couple of names behind them on Fantasy Calc right now. And you just tell me, would you rather have, well, first of all, would you rather have Anthony Richardson or Caleb Williams on your dynasty rosters right now? They're back to back.
Richardson. I know the rushing upside.
Brutal. All right. Right behind him, Dak Prescott.
Give me Dak. I know what the stability is that I'm getting there.
Right behind them, Justin Herbert. He's not scoring fantasy points, but we know he's a franchise quarterback.
I don't think there's enough volume to truly go around, nor do I think they care enough about the wide receiver skill position there, or tight end, really, for that matter.
Oh, Will Disley slander?
Yeah, he's a blocking tight end.
That's tough. Look, behind them, this will be the last one we do, Brock Purdy.
I was looking that up for the show. Brock Purdy has the most intended air yards. He has a incredible play caller.
Also, lowest percentage of his passing yards are yak right now.
Yep.
So there's room to bounce back.
Well, yeah, I mean, Debo's been hurt. He's the yak king. Come on.
Well, Kittle's pretty good at it.
Well, okay. Yeah, sure.
Allegedly.
Kittle's also been a little banged up as well.
Yeah.
And CMC isn't there. So there's a lot of injuries to that 49ers offense. To be able to see him do what he's been doing so far, it's been pretty impressive, I will say. Sure. I'll go out on Nope. Sorry. I'm sticking with Richardson because I know the rushing upside is there. And what do we know about fantasy football? Rushing upside is king.
All right. So, but hear me out. So you're saying you just used the 101 on Caleb Williams. Your roster is overperforming right now. And you look like you're 3-1. You're maybe like a competent quarterback away. Are you sending Caleb Williams for Brock Purdy straight up?
No, because I'm 3-1, and 3-1 means that I have a little bit of time to figure it out.
You're a coward. All right. Last fun fact of the day. Running backs since 2010, no running back has returned from an Achilles tear and then had more than 86 touches the following year. Cam Akers got close across 2 teams, didn't quite make it. Dobbins is already at 76 touches this year. Is he the new mold? Has modern medicine just figured it out again? Is he just that talented of a player that he's able to return, or is this something like the writing's on the wall? He's about to get the James Robinson treatment.
He's always been that talented of a player.
Yep.
Settle that right there.
Fair.
Harbaugh also just doesn't care. He's gonna give him 15 carries a game. He's gonna use and abuse him, and he's gonna let him walk in free agency this offseason.
I'm gonna have
Welcome to the Harbaugh experience.
I'm gonna have to make a little graphic that just says Harbaugh just doesn't care. Quote Evan. Yeah, no, I mean, he's just going to feed him. He has no care for his long-term health. He has no care for his relevance to the team following this year. He's only under contract right now. So
talk about a disparity, though, between the first 2 games and the second 2 games from an efficiency standpoint.
Oh, yeah.
Let's just read this off here. First game, 13.5 yards per carry.
Okay.
Second game, 7.71 yards per carry.
Okay.
Ooh, third game, 2.93 yards per carry.
Who do you play?
Pittsburgh.
I know.
And then the fourth game against KC, another great run defense, 2.29.
It's almost like he's matchup dependent, but the matchup depends how high the ceiling is because the volume is there, which is wild to say.
Yep. Yeah. Why do you have a 240-pound running back if you're not just going to feed him the ball? Riddle me that, Mike.
Dude, Gus Edwards looks like dust. Every time
He
he's
really
out there,
does.
I'm like, why does that fullback have dreadlocks? Get him off my screen.
Oh, man.
All right. Well, this has been another lovely episode. Be sure to hop on over to Dubby, get a little gingerless energy drink, get you through the day. Switch from Monster or Red Bull or whatever disgusting battery acid you're pumping through your veins. Get yourself a tin of Dubby. Save some money. You feel better. It's all natural, allegedly. Things are good. Use code FFRPG at checkout for a little bit off. A little bit comes back to the show. And more importantly, check out the link in the bio. Head on over, make a donation, try and make an impact. There's families out there that need some help, and do a good thing. Get a little karma on your side. Maybe your fantasy football teams won't stink as much. But Evan, anything to say to the people at home?
People at home, no. But Mike, I love you, man.
I love you too.
Thanks for listening to another episode of the Fantasy Football RPG Podcast. You can find us on Twitter at FFRPGPod and at FFMikeCash with a K. Don't let the goblins get you. See you next week.